So we're on to part 3 of the beginner's cushion or pillow. It's a patchwork project, it's supposed to be quick and easy for beginners. We've put the patchwork onto some wadding, which is what I like to do, and it gives it, because we're using 100% cotton, it's not as thick as upholstery fabrics, so I like to put it on a wadding. It gives the cushion a little bit of body. You can either cut this by hand, because I'm not expecting people to have lots of equipment when they start this. So basically, you need to cut right up against the fabric. This won't be my best cutting because I'm actually left-handed, but there we go. And you cut it around as straight as you can. Or if you do have a rotary cutter and a ruler, you can use that. I like to use I got some nice square rulers which I use for squaring off my quilts. I always start at the corners. I think I got a little video actually on squaring off your quilt. When you're using a rotary cutter, please be very careful, follow health and safety, follow all the instructions from the manufacturer. Basically only use rulers that are for using with a rotary cutter, and cut away from yourself. And I've got this one just shuts automatically when I leave go. Whenever you're putting one down, make sure the blade is in. You don't want to accidentally pick one up and cut yourself. I'm putting this ruler on the corner there, as flat there and as straight as I can get that, and then I'm going to cut up to there. Never cut towards yourselves with a rotary cutter. I sometimes cut across, but the top but not the bottom. There we go. So I'm putting that flat against there again and cutting it, and just go round the four corners, straightening it off. Do that to both pieces. So I've cut both pieces now. I've cut all around the edges, squared them off, they're nice and straight. Hopefully the two of them will be the same size. The only thing you need to do is, if you have a directional fabric, these flowers are going up, you can put these together right size facing, so just ensure that the flowers are going in the same direction. But I can guarantee you somewhere along the line we'll get this wrong. Don't stress about it. So we put them together and they should be the same size, and now we're going to pin it. So I'm pinning this all the way round. You can see the pins that are in there. I'm putting them a fair way inside, so that hopefully the foot will come, when I'm stitching, the foot will go past them, but you can take them out as you come to them. Now then, the one thing I do is there will be an opening in this, because we're not going to put a zip in, we're just going to hand stitch it closed. So I'm going to put an opening on the bottom, and I'm going to leave about 5 inches there, and I'm putting the pins that way. All my other pins are that way, but I'm putting these vertically so that I can start there and I know when I come round to this pin to stop. Because the other thing that you will do once is sew all the way around and not leave yourself a hole to turn through. I've done it. Off to the sewing machine now. So here we are at the sewing machine. I've got my walking foot on again because that's really useful if you've got one for this. I'm going to start at one of these vertical pins, and I'm going to put this, it doesn't need to be 1/4 of an inch, I'm going to do it like 5/8 or even more. I'm going to fetch my walking foot to the edge there, and I will put a few securing stitches in the spot to start because I don't want this work to come undone. And then you start stitching along. It's a fairly shortish stitch length, and as you come to the pins you can take them out. So I'm keeping this edge there. going round slowly, needle down, turn your work, ready to go around the next side. And continue around until you come to the next vertical pin, which hopefully will stop you. I've gone almost all the way around now, and I'm on my way back to that vertical pin, which is my sign to stop. So when I get to that, you can either put a few stitches in the spot, or if your machine doesn't do that, you can just go backwards, you know, like you would with dressmaking. You just want to secure that so that it doesn't actually open up. And then take your work out of your machine. I'm just going to trim across the corners as you would in dressmaking to reduce the bulk, because we're going to be turning this through to the front. And then in the gap that you made, you're going to turn it all the way through. With the corners, you can use blunt end of a big pair of scissors if you want to, just to poke the ends out. And at this point now, I like to give it all a press. And the way I like to press it is I like to sort of pull it over so that the seam is there, so that I can actually press the seam a little bit, going right up into the corners. That's that corner. And here's the first bit of the corner. So that opens the seam out a little bit, and then I can press the whole thing flat and go round the cushion doing that. It's looking lovely now. I'm really pleased with that. Now quite often at this point I go round top stitching about 5/8 of an inch in, because that gives a nice edge to the cushion. But this cushion is patchwork front and back, so it's not so important, and I'm trying to keep this as a basic little project, so we'll just get on with the stuffing. I tend to stuff my cushions with what they call a hollow fibre filling, ideal for crafts and toy stuffing. I like to do that because no matter what size or shape cushion I make, I just put enough of this in to fill it. Whereas if you buy an insert, you can be struggling, or you can always open an insert anyway and use the stuffing out of it. But I quite like doing this. So just grab small handfuls and start pushing it in. And of course you do the corners first and fill out the corners, and slowly fill the cushion. So there's my cushion stuffed, and all I'm going to do now is stitch it closed. Now if I was doing the sewing around the top stitching, I would enclose that as I went across, but as I'm not, I've got a hand stitch it, so I'll just quickly show you how to hand stitch it. And the reason I do this is because it's quick and easy to make, and you know, as long as you're not using something like feathers, as long as you're using a polyester filling, you can chuck these in the washing machine and they dry quite quickly. Okay, so I'm going to turn it under and stitch it, and I'm going to match up where the seams are so that I get the seams matching. So I'm going to put a pin there just to hold that in place, and then I'm going to stitch, tucking this in about 5/8 of an inch, the same as whatever your seam was. I've used a different colour thread, so you can see I'd use a matching one because you don't want to see the stitching. So you go in and you just capture a little bit, and you come out, and then you go in the opposite side, come about, I don't know, between 1/8 and 1/4 of an inch, and come up, and then go in this side, and you work your way along, closing the seam. As I say, you do it in the matching thread. I'm just trying to show you this. There you go. I'm not going to do any more for a minute. And there it is in all its glory, my little pillow cushion. I'm really pleased with that. That is so cute. Bye.